Hello, everybody. It's Max with Crypto Talk Now. For roughly 2 years now, we've heard a lot of speculation on the possibility of Dogecoin becoming a form of payment on Twitter's platform in some form or capacity, right? A tipping mechanism, amongst other things. Well, how about this for size? Instead of focusing on the likes of Dogecoin, maybe we should be putting our focus on the likes of Quant. So without further ado, let's get into today's Quant coverage. So for instance, I saw this and I said to myself, you know what? This deserves a proper outline to develop the case for how this could very well become just that, its own thing, right? Quant connected with the likes of Elon Musk and getting this whole thing going on for Twitter to have a form of payment. This could very well happen sooner than we all think. Why? Well, let's jump right into that. Got a whole outline for you. And if anything, I would love to hear some of your questions, comments, and feedback on how you think basically this could be something realistic. It may very well happen here. Who knows? Soon, as in what? 2023. Going to come out of the frame for a bit because I definitely want to show you guys this in full screen. But check out some of this. And of course, shout out to Quant Papa for this particular clip, as well as all the other great content that he has shared with us before. Highly recommend following him. Currently speaking, he's at 690 followers, but he's very passionate about his Quant coverage. So this one is about a minute and a half. And if anything, we'll come back for some commentary addressing this particular outline. Here we go.
You put that on a distributed ledger technology, you have to rethink the entire architecture.
Ways to do payments using an existing platform like Twitter.
An example with Twitter, my view is that that's going to be a payment system. It's undergoing a lot of turmoil right now, and we all know why. And
Gilbert talked about is about compatibility. How do we make solutions that are compatible to existing data management solutions that developers are currently using?
Transactions or financial services that leverage that network connectivity, the human side. So I think where we're seeing things evolving is that mass explosion of new types of digital assets, new types of money, and the new types of human-to-human transactions or business-to-business transactions. If you look at what's happening, just an example with Twitter, my view is that that's going to be a payment system. It's undergoing a lot of turmoil right now, and we all know why. And but I think that's kind of the start of a new human-to-human ways to do payments using an existing platform like Twitter. So having that connected to bank systems, to central bank digital currency systems, peer-to-peer systems, we're going to have a new type of world. It's very hyper-connected. So I think 23 is the start of that.
Yes, 2023 could very well be the start of this. And while the rest of the world is focusing on, let's face it, the likes of Dogecoin make it happen, think about what Quant brings to the table. The interoperability to make that happen, right? Not saying specifically one set token or one set coin to make it happen. If anything, providing that sense of utility through their technology to make this happen. For instance, with the likes of Elon Musk getting this going on for Twitter. Now, what exactly would be holding up all this? Well, we'll get into that in just a bit. But if anything, another shout out to another person that we've covered here in the past, Greg LUNC, who's at GregLUNC27. And highly recommend following him as well if you're super into Quant. This particular statement. And it's really good research, to say the least. I love these particular snippets. It's precise, it's to the point, and if anything, I think you guys appreciate it as well. So it says, for anyone doubting the viability of 100 billion daily transactions on Overledger, consider this. And especially who? The Bitcoin maxis. Yes, especially them. All right. States, at AWS Cloud currently handles 750 million transactions per second. I wonder what AWS Cloud is. Amazon Web Services, right? It says that's about 65 trillion transactions per day. Now listen to this as far as perspective is concerned. 65 trillion is 640 times more than 100 billion. That's massive. And that's just one platform, like it mentions. Now we're going to get further down into this. For instance, it states, the AWS platform team sustains over 750 million transactions per second. It's insane. That's massive, right? Absolutely crazy. Okay. On top of that, as far as, our particular outline, check out this. All right. So this question was asked not that long ago. And it basically states, who has the Quant network graphics showing all of the blockchains in it, and how it basically works? I've seen it before, but can't find it anywhere. I'm down this rabbit hole and loving it. Well, shout out to you, Jason Appleton. That's awesome if you happen to be watching this. Now, of course, Lambos or food stamps, right, responds to this, right? And he says, one of these? This one's pretty cool. Like, I have to admit, this is a little more updated, and I like it. I would share it with you guys. Again, it's another perfect example of how Quant connects all of it. And I'm literally going to keep saying this again and again. All of this, the payment APIs, the blockchain APIs, banking APIs, of course, which is, for myself, my main focus, because I'm looking at, where we achieve these crazy market caps, in which gets Quant up there with the likes of Bitcoin and so on, right? Internet of Trust APIs, you name it. Massive, to say the least. But when you go to the next page of this, it even breaks it down even further. Block data. Top 10 technologies used by the top 100 institutions. Right at the top, you have the likes of Microsoft, some of these other names, right? Cisco, Toyota, Honeywell, Oracle. I mean, it just goes on and on. Samsung, Walmart, Amazon. I mean, Visa. I mean, it doesn't even end there. I mean, you see some of these other big names. NVIDIA, Coca-Cola. Not a big fan of JP Morgan, but they're there. Goldman Sachs. I mean, it just goes on and on. BlackRock, right? Especially, they get a lot of headlines, especially when it comes to what's happened recently with crypto. The world's largest asset custodian, right? Even big oil, ExxonMobil, you name it. A little bit more in regards to this. Look at this particular graph. When we make this statement that Quant is interoperable with everything, they literally are, right? So, for instance, you see where it's connecting with like Simba, how Simba basically connects to Microsoft Consensus. Here at CTN, we talk quite a bit about what happened recently with, for instance, Latin American countries with LAC chain and so on, right? Heck, the Oracle partnership is massive, to say the least. On and on. All right, a little bit more in regards to this. So, Overledger, right? It's not a blockchain, it's an operating system. So, what is it basically all connected to? Well, some of the things you basically saw and so on, but to kind of give you key areas, right? Global finance, right? Like you see right here. And the real big key one is the trade sector of trade finance. Logistics, that's something that kind of like flies under the radar. It shouldn't, but Quant can bring a lot to the table with helping out solve a lot of our breakdown of supply chain, especially, with what's happened in recent years, especially with the COVID situation, healthcare, Internet of Trust / Internet of Things, right? On some of these other categories. Another thing I want to show you guys, just to pull back up. So, for instance, I am going to show you this right here. And I know I'm still out of frame, but it's okay. It states basically hundreds of millions of people do not have access to financial tools or have a credit card. Overledger will seamlessly transact money from their smartphones alone, as well as help them get a digital ID. All IDs and transactions will require, for instance, Quant. And again, this particular example that you're going to see here, is a different thing in itself. You may be wondering, well, how does this have to do have anything to do with like the likes of Twitter and so on. It makes a lot of sense how that would be basically made. If you think about this, the convenience of a lot of people using some of these apps that they already have. So if there are a lot of people already on Twitter, and you have the connection of, for instance, Quant making things interoperable, so people again don't have to maybe download another app, right? It's already built into the likes of Twitter. Remember, just to give you guys a little bit more perspective, remember when Gilbert Verdian said a while back, it's not about these blockchains jumping through all these hoops, to a sense, to become interoperable with Quant. Quant's mission is to become interoperable with everybody by basically allowing them to just focus on their own work. And Quant will do the heavy lifting, if you will. This is another perfect example of just that. So I'm going to show you guys this, for instance, 12 countries. Think about it, basically. And again, shout out to this particular person.
Making cross-border.
I should say again, I mean, it's Crypto Clembo, but this was featured recently, not that long ago, I should say. This full clip is roughly about half an hour, but I just want to give you guys the 2-minute 20 version. Again, shout out to Quant Pop, I should say, for providing this. So Quant, the future in regards to a global infrastructure. This will highlight a few key things that will at least bring a sense of clarity on making the case for the Quant connection for Twitter. Listen to this. This particular one, again, like I mentioned, is about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Then we'll come back for some more commentary.
Making cross-border banking services accessible and reliable is paramount to driving growth and development across the globe. Quant is working to create a new digital payment network that will transform lives and markets by enabling seamless cross-border transactions and expanding access to financial inclusion to millions of people.
Today's modern payment system makes almost everything easier. In Latin America, around half of people don't have a bank account at all, and about 80% don't have a credit card. That means hundreds of millions of people without access to crucial financial tools like payments, loans, or money transfers. The team at Quant believes blockchain technology can bring financial inclusion to the entire region, going beyond the traditional banking system to help serve the so-called unbanked.
By implementing blockchain technology, they're able to leapfrog all the legacy infrastructure and the barriers that they've had in the past to real world, real time, and digital assets in a very short period of time, benefiting people by having better payment systems to facilitate more innovation, stronger GDP growth, and allowing for seamless trade between the different parties.
Quant founder and CEO Gilbert Verdian is an expert in using blockchain for payments. Blockchains are like digital records, storing information about transactions or contracts. Quant's platform called Overledger makes developing for different blockchains easy. It links them and other legacy systems together, allowing financial services to cross digital and physical borders.
Our approach is bringing the technology to the masses, and you can't be limited by geography. The very nature of blockchain is global, and the very nature of how society and businesses operate today is through globalization is also global.
Now Quant is providing digital payments for an ambitious project called LUNC, which links a dozen countries in Latin America and the Caribbean.
So I know that shows a little bit of focus on some of the things that we've really seen before in regards to, what Quant has done with LAC chain, right? Think about this. At the very beginning of the video, you see, for instance, people using their phones, and then, they're pulling out their cards and they're tapping some of those, debit card mechanisms. Like, you may very well be doing it as we speak, right? You don't have to necessarily swipe your card. You just tap your card. What about having the technology where, you could just open up, for instance, your phone, right? And not even having to tap anything, to a sense. You may think, well, that doesn't exist yet, to a sense. It does. And there's things being put into motions as we speak in that regard. Like, for instance, the whole concept of like going to a gas station, right? And even before, you even get there, to a sense, you can pay for some of your gas and have it, ready for you can basically pump, to a sense, right before you get there. Now, I understand the whole thing. Well, what if somebody else steals your gas and so on? Yeah, I get that. I'm not saying like, you're gonna do it like an hour in advance or anything like that, but it's, again, creating some more of that ease of access, if you will. And when you hear about this whole thing with LSC chain, what they accomplish with LSC chain, if they can accomplish the likes of that, they can also accomplish the likes of setting up something for Twitter for payments. Because for one, again, it's that interoperability, creating, like you see here, the global infrastructure, right? Yeah, we're talking about, for instance, what they did with LAC chain is cross-border payments and so on. But if anything, if you already have a bunch of people on the internet connected through a form of social media, that right there is, more than just cross-border payments. You're literally having people from all over the world already connected to one platform. They can solve it. They can do it. And if anything, I see this happening here soon. Now, I realize that doesn't completely, pound it home 100% as far as like, okay, cut and dry, that's all they need to do. No, there's a lot more to it. I want to show you this. So, on top of it, it states basically right here, what Elon Musk is doing Twitter is what he did at Tesla and SpaceX. Recently speaking, you heard the whole situation in regards to, for instance, Elon Musk has stated, especially in recent weeks, right? People, his employees have basically two options. They could either accept, severance pay, was it for 3 months, right? By walking away from the company and getting that and so on. Or they go, as he would say, hardcore. What does Elon Musk basically mean by hardcore, right? Is it killing yourself at the job and so on? For the greater good of the company and so on? Yeah, it is basically just that. And why is he doing that? Because he had to do this in the past to save these particular companies. Was he doing it because he just wants to make people feel like they got to work themselves to death and, he's just some crazy evil person like some people have labeled him to be? No, that's not the case at all. But look at this. Like it states, what Elon Musk is doing to Twitter is what he did at Tesla and SpaceX. And it should be to no surprise his approach on how he goes about saving companies. And by the way, if you've been looking more into this, you have also noticed that the amount of new users for Twitter is at record highs. Now, there's a whole talk about, for instance, that in his, of course, address, Elon Musk has stated that, he realizes that realistically speaking, they are on the brink of bankruptcy. But look at what happened to Tesla in the past, right? They were also on the brink of bankruptcy, and it went the other way for the good, right? So it says firing people, talking of bankruptcy, telling workers to, quote, be hardcore, like I mentioned. Mr. Musk has repeatedly used those tactics in many of his companies. And by the way, this article was posted, I believe, just roughly like a few days ago. This is still pretty new. This is, of course, referring to Tesla employees on the Model 3 assembly line. It's going to refer back to that quote. This particular article, of course, was actually about a week ago, so give or take, November 21st. But look at this. Elon Musk was sleeping at the office. Don't believe me? We're going to show you a clip here in a bit in regards to just that. But the outline I want to build for you guys to make a case for all this is he needs to feel as though he's going to get things in place to basically turn Twitter around and save the company before it gets to quote-unquote bankruptcy. He doesn't want that. Nobody wants that. The way people want that probably are the haters and people don't want to see him fail. So it states, for instance, he dismissed employees and executives at will, and he lamented his company was on the verge of bankruptcy. That, of course, was back in 2018. He's even stated in recent interviews that for 2017, 18, 19, that was the most pain that he ever physically went through, both psychologically, emotionally, you name it, right? Kind of like what it says right here, it was excruciating, right? There were times in which he didn't even leave the factory for 3 or 4 days. He didn't even go outside, right? He was in the reason for it. I don't have this particular clip for you. I do apologize for that, but you can look it up for yourself. Like, he's even mentioned that he wanted his like management team and so on to recognize that he wasn't the guy who was sitting in. I think he meant, I don't know if it's the exact words, but the guy that's sitting at the top of the hill or in the ivory house, if you will, and they're doing all the heavy lifting. He wanted to show that he cared and that he was side by side with them doing the hardcore work. You don't see CEOs do that ever. But anyway, these same tactics, if you will, right, by him to upend the social media company. And of course, like it says, in a few weeks, he took some of these tactics from way back, and he's, of course, like it says, applying to, what's going on right now. Now, the point I'm trying to make to you guys, and of course you can look more into this particular article, it's straight from the New York Times, is just this. My thing is, and of course I'm going to show you another clip here soon, but my key thing is he wants to do whatever it takes to save Twitter. And then once that happens, it's going to be like a really amazing thing, to say the least. It's not just, oh, this is a cool thing. Think about what it could entail. So for one, if Twitter gets saved and they avoid bankruptcy and so on, I think other things start to come into play. Now, I've heard the debate of, well, for instance, Max, you're wrong. If anything, this will give him more insight or more incentive to get in with the likes of, for instance, Gilbert Verdin, and, for instance, get this whole payment system thing accomplished. But you got to keep in mind, if he's facing bankruptcy, possibly, how are you going to really have the money? I mean, I understand he's the richest guy in the world, but how are you going to have necessarily the justification of solving this before, or on the brink of bankruptcy? It would make more sense that they're not going to go bankrupt and then do this. So my point is, I want to show you this particular clip that's coming up, and if anything, it'll give you more insight to just that. And this is this right here. This, of course, was taken back when he was at Tesla, and it says, last time when you slept at Tesla, we knew what wonders it did. And when he makes these comments about going hardcore with the likes of, for instance, Twitter and so on, again, it's a representation of what worked for him in the past. Now, it may very well fail, but I'm kind of rooting for this guy. I think it might actually work. And then from there, entering into 2023, kind of like what Gilbert was mentioning, right? He specifically mentioned 2023. He specifically mentioned the likes of Twitter. I think there's something to be said about that. I'm basically, I guess you could say, making the case for it. Maybe I'm kind of getting off kilter here just a little bit. But guys, listen to this. This is 30 seconds. We'll come back here in just a brief moment. I'll, of course, come back into the frame. But you got to hear this for yourself. You have to see it for yourself. Here we go.
I don't have time to go home and shower and change, so I sleep here.
I want to see. Where is that?
Oh, yeah, so
I want to see.
I mean, it's pretty boring overall, really.
It's actually cold in here too.
Yeah, I like it cold.
So you like it cold?
I sleep on the couch over there.
So you're just laying here on the couch?
Yeah. Last time I was here, I actually slept literally on the floor because the couch was too narrow.
Yeah, I was going to say. And Elon, I have to say, it's not even a comfortable couch either.
No, it's terrible. This is not a good couch. I don't have time to go home.
He doesn't have enough time to go home. Doesn't have time to shower. He doesn't have time to do anything but to do what? To focus on his work, to focus on saving his company, to focus on accomplishing what needs to be done. The passion and the drive from this guy is unbelievable. Am I a fan of Elon Musk? Yeah, I'm a fan of him. I understand there's the other side of it where there's people who don't agree with him. I guess you could say for, political reasons and so on. But I think that's the thing. He has not only like this itch that needs to be scratched, but he has this drive to accomplish things that he feels as though need to be just that, accomplished. Do you think for any reason at all that he's going to forget about some of these things that have happened in crypto and so on? I don't think so. I think if anything, he tries to save Twitter first, right? Because let's face it, there is some things that you wish, kind of like similar to the Tesla situation, right? He just recently acquired it. There is some haters that are rooting for him for that to fail. Like, hey, Elon Musk, this is going to be your negative aspect that's going to be added to your resume, a blip on that resume, your failure of Twitter and so on. Of course, the man doesn't want that. Is it a possibility? Well, absolutely. Anything's a possibility, right? But if anything, like I mentioned, if he, quote unquote, him and his team, the hardcore people, save Twitter, be on the outlook here soon for 2023, where all of a sudden some other things start happening, right? And of course, I mentioned the whole thing with Quant. I really, really think, and I'm not again, some people will be like, Max, don't do this. This is just theories and so on. I receive that type of criticism. But you want to know something? When you hear specifically the CEO of a company, Gilbert Verdian, multiple times in multiple clips, as we showed you guys, make some of these cases, that simply makes sense to me, right? And you don't think, for instance, Elon Musk would listen to the likes of Gilbert Verdian? Shoot, you better believe he is. And I'm sure he's already known for a while now who Gilbert Verdian is. So guys, I know that was kind of like a little bit more of a extended deep dive, if you will, or outline, wherever the case be. I was glad to be able to present it to you. And if anything, I hope you enjoy the type of content we give you here at Crypto Talk Now in regards to some of this. So like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And again, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this? Should the world not focus so much on what Dogecoin is doing? Or should they actually look more into what Quant could do with the likes of Twitter? Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a blessed day. We'll see you on the next one.